Hey guys, Mrs. Dukoski here. This is your chapter 11 Catcher in the Rye video. This is a short chapter and I'm filming this just, moments after the chapter 10 video. So because of that, I want to offer you a study break yoga session. So that's what I'm going to do between my chapters because, I'm a human as well and I like breaks. Who doesn't like breaks? They're healthy. You need to take them. So before I jump into my next chapter, which is chapter 11, it's a whole chapter, a short chapter about the character Jane Gallagher, I'm going to do a quick study break yoga session because that's what I'm feeling. So I'll share with you the video and you'll see I'm kind of got my space here. I've got my space all ready for me. I'm still on the porch. It stopped raining. Here's Mila. She's going to join us. But so just a quick, even 5-minute break in between whatever activities it is that you're doing, especially if they're learning activities, can really benefit you. And it can help you focus. And so if you're focused and you're concentrating, the lesson's going to go better for you anyway. And you won't have to watch it like 5 times. And it will just feel like I can do this one time and be done with it. And then move on to whatever is next. But again, these nice little breaks are really so healthy for you. So we'll do one together. So again, I'm going to be here doing it. I'll share the video with you and I'll put it in the description. It's a 5-minute study break yoga, and then we'll get into our chapter 11, Catcher in the Rye. All right, so here we go. Get into your space. Again, you don't even need a mat. You can just have a little space on the floor somewhere or outside. I love practicing everything outside. It's the beauty of being at home, right? Or not in a building. You can take it outside. So this one's called Yoga with Adrienne. She gives some nice free yoga lessons, videos. If you dig it, I'm sure there's a bunch others that you could, get into. So this is just a quickie, a quick 5-minute break.
All right, pals, let's begin on all fours today. Jumping right into it. Spreading your hands super wide as you come down to the ground. Give the earth a little high five. Really feeling that stretch in the palms, knees underneath the hip points. Starting with cat-cow. Inhale, drop the belly, open your chest, take a big old breath in. And then as you exhale, round through, claw into your fingertips, lift your heart space up to the sky. Inhale, drop the belly, open your heart, take the biggest breath you've taken all day here. And then exhale, really press away from the earth, keep your knuckles grounding down. As you arch the back, draw your navel up. One more, inhale, drop the belly, open the chest. Exhale, round through, chin to chest. Awesome. On your next inhale, you're going to kick the right foot out and reach the left fingertips forward. Take the deepest breath and then exhale, round through, just like in cat pose, bringing the elbow in, the knee in, rounding through the spine. Good. Inhale to extend. Exhale, tabletop position. Here we go. Dropping the belly, this time kicking the left toes out and reaching the right fingertips forward. Inhale, fill up. Exhale, round through. Press your left palm into the earth. Lift your heart space up towards the sky. Good. Inhale, spread the fingers, spread the toes, reach it out. Exhale, tabletop position. Beautiful. Walk the hands out just a bit. Upper arm bones rotate out so elbow creases, biceps towards the front of your yoga mat. Then curl the toes under. Feel that stretch already through the foot. Take a deep breath in, and here we go. Keep your knees bent as you lift the hip creases up high, downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in here, and use your exhale to melt your heart back. Shake the head, a little yes, a little no. Great, then bend the knees, inhale to look forward, and exhale to make your way to the top. Feet hip-width apart or flush together. Take an inhale to halfway lift, find length in the spine, and then use your exhale to soft bend in the knees, forward fold, let everything go. Great, then send your hips back, bend your knees generously, bring your belly to the top of the thighs, and slowly, when you're ready, Roll up, tucking the chin. Standing up nice and tall, mountain pose right away. Inhale, spread your fingertips, and as you breathe in, reach for the sky. Exhale, rain it down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, find length in the neck. Exhale to soften and bow. You're going to step or you can hop it back to plank, strong and steady. Beautiful. Now turn onto the outer edge of your right foot, the inner arch of your left foot. You're going to press away from your yoga mat and reach your left fingertips all the way up towards the sky. Lift your right hip all the way up, up, up. Take one more breath. Good. Then exhale, come back through center plank pose, and then take it to the other side. Big inhale to press away from the earth. Reach your right fingertips up. Then lift your left hip crease up towards the sky, and then bring it all the way back down to plank. Beautiful. Inhale to look forward, shift forward. Exhale to the belly. Inhale, cobra. Keep it soft. Exhale to release. Curl the toes under, press back up to plank or all fours, then send it back to downward facing dog. Beautiful. Bend your knees. Inhale to look forward. Exhale to make your way to the top. Inhale with your breath. Lift up halfway. Follow your breath. Exhale to soften and fold. Beautiful. Inhale, roll it up. Nice and slow, stacking up through the spine. When you're ready, take your fingertips, stretch them all the way up towards the sky. And then on an exhale, soft bend in the knees. Send your right fingertips forward and your left fingertips back. Breathe. Grounding through the feet. And then here we go. Big inhale. Then reach for the sky. And exhale, send your right fingertips back, left fingertips forward, twisting through the spine. Beautiful. Then inhale, last big stretch here, send your fingertips up. You're going to slowly lift up from your center, lift your heels up, finding your balance here, relaxing the shoulders down, hug the low ribs in. We're here for 3, 2, and on the 1, slowly lower your feet. Bring your hands to your heart. Inhale, lots of love in. And exhale, lots of love out. Nice work, everyone. Have an amazing rest of the day. I'll see you next time. Namaste.
All right. Get myself back in action here. So wherever you are, I'll stop my share for a second just to talk to you. Here I am. I just did this nice little 5-minute study break with my dog. I noticed she has her dog. I don't know if anybody else has a dog that loves hanging out with you when you're working. It's awesome. I'm going to miss that about working from home, having my dog, and then my kids are not here right now. Just these others that like to come and hang out in our learning space that we don't get, when we're outside of our homes. So I'm thankful for that. And I kind of wish I could bring my dog into work with me. I don't think that's going to go over well, but she's here now. Mila's here, and I like that. So she just kind of hangs out with me. And so before we get into our Catcher in the Rye, chapter 11, take a little break, take a drink of water. I've remembered my Catcher in the Rye mug today. It's actually water. I'm done with coffee for the day. And get yourself ready to learn. So wherever you are in your learning space, get yourself from that place of movement. And again, I'm proud of you for doing the movement and being willing to just try something new. Maybe it's not new. Maybe you practice regularly and you have already learned the benefits of doing a little bit of movement just to bring your body, your energy in your body to this place where you can now sit and focus a little bit. It is good to take breaks. So sometimes we start working, especially when we're at home, and we don't realize so much time has passed. You really need to purposefully just kind of pause and take those breaks, even if that was a quick 5-minute break. So doing a little bit of movement, getting something to drink or eat, just stepping outside, getting some fresh air, saying hello to a friend or a family member, just these little things that we can add into our day that really make a big difference. So with that, I encourage all of those things. And I would encourage these to Holden. I'll transition. Holden, our narrator, is struggling. And I think some of these activities that we talk about, these wellness activities, could really benefit Holden if he were to just kind of pepper them into his day. So with that, I would recommend some of this if he was a real person that I could meet and talk to. But he's not. He's our fictional character. So with that, I'll get back to my share. And we'll get into our chapter 11. So chapter 11, just quickly, quick chapter. Here are your lesson notes in your catcher folder in Schoology. So you can pull them up, and we're not going to make this one too complicated because it's just a short chapter about Jane Gallagher. So the focus is on character. We focus on character, and that character again is Jane. He leaves the Lavender Room and he has Jane Gallagher on the brain again. So this is a great chapter in that we find out more about Jane if you were wondering about her. She's the girl that went on the date with Stradlater that Holden and Stradlater got into a fight about. And we'll think of direct and indirect characterization again. So if you remember back to those chapters when we met Ackley and Stradlater, we talked a bit and defined characterization, specifically direct and indirect characterization. So that's the lens that we'll start sort of examining Jane through as Holden describes her in this chapter 11. So chapter 11, we'll learn more about the character Jane, and then be on the lookout. There's going to be another quiz coming up. So we'll have a chapters 7 through 11 quiz. So I'll put some review materials on Schoology for those chapters. That's our next quiz, chapters 7 through 11. All right, so with that, cue up your PDF. Chapter 11 starts on page 41, and we'll get into it. All right, so chapter 11, Catcher in the Rye, Jane Gallagher. Here we go. All of a sudden, on my way out of the lobby, I got old Jane Gallagher on the brain again. I got her on, and I couldn't get her off. I sat down on this vomity-looking chair in the lobby and thought about her and Stradlater in that goddamn Ed Banky's car. And though I was pretty damn sure old Stradlater hadn't given her the time, I know old Jane like a book. I still couldn't get her off my brain. I knew her like a book, I really did. I mean, besides checkers, she was quite fond of athletic sports. And after I got to know her, the whole summer long, we played tennis together almost every morning and golf almost every afternoon. I really got to know her quite intimately. I don't mean it was anything physical or anything. It wasn't. But we saw each other all the time. You don't always have to get sexy to get to know a girl. The way I met her, this Doberman Pinscher she had used to come over and relieve himself on our lawn. And my mother got very irritated about it. She called up Jane's mother and made a big stink about it. My mother can make a very big stink about that kind of stuff. Then what happened, a couple of days later, I saw Jane laying on her stomach next to the swimming pool at the club, and I said hello to her. I knew she lived in the house next to ours, but I never conversed with her before or anything. She gave me the big freeze when I said hello that day, though. I had a hell of a time convincing her that I didn't give a good goddamn where her dog relieved himself. He could do it in their living room for all I cared. Anyway, after that, Jane and I got to be friends and all. I played golf with her that same afternoon. She lost 8 balls. I remember. 8. I had a terrible time getting her to at least open her eyes when she took a swing at the ball. I improved her game immensely, though. I am a very good golfer. If I told you what I go around in, you probably wouldn't believe me. I almost was once in a movie short, but I changed my mind at the last minute. I figured that anybody that hates the movies as much as I do, I'd be a phony if I let them stick me in a movie short. She was a funny girl, old Jane. I wouldn't exactly describe her as strictly beautiful. She knocked me out, though. She was sort of muckle-mouthed. I mean, when she was talking and she got excited about something, her mouth sort of went in about 50 directions, her lips and all. That killed me. She never really closed it all the way. Her mouth, it was always just a little bit open, especially when she got in her golf stance or when she was reading a book. She was always reading, and she read very good books. She read a lot of poetry and all. She was the only one outside my family that I ever showed Allie's baseball mitt to, with all the poems written on it. She'd never met Allie or anything, because that was her first summer in Maine. Before that, she went to Cape Cod, but I told her quite a lot about him. She was interested in that kind of stuff. My mother didn't like her too much. I mean, my mother always thought Jane and her mother were sort of snubbing her or something when they didn't say hello. My mother saw them in the village a lot because Jane used to drive to the market with her mother in this LaSalle convertible they had. My mother didn't think Jane was pretty even. I did, though. I just liked the way she looked, that's all. I remember this one afternoon. It was the only time old Jane and I ever got close to necking, even. It was a Saturday, and it was raining like a bastard out, and I was over at her house on the porch. They had this big screened-in porch. We were playing checkers. I used to kid her once in a while because she wouldn't take her kings out of the back row. But I didn't kid her much, though. You never wanted to kid Jane too much. I think I really like it best when you can kid the pants off a girl when the opportunity arises. But it's a funny thing. The girls I like best are the ones I never feel much like kidding. Sometimes I think they'd like it if you kidded them. In fact, I know they would. But it's hard to get started once you've known them a pretty long time and never kidded them. Anyway, I was telling you about that afternoon Jane and I came close to necking. It was raining like hell, and we were out on her porch, and all of a sudden this booze hound her mother was married to came out on the porch and asked Jane if there were any cigarettes in the house. I didn't know him too well or anything, but he looked like the kind of guy that wouldn't talk to you much unless he wanted something off of you. He had a lousy personality. Anyway, old Jane wouldn't answer him when he asked her if she knew where there were any cigarettes. So the guy asked her again, but she wouldn't answer him. She didn't even look up from the game. Finally, the guy went inside the house. When he did, I asked Jane what the hell was going on. She wouldn't even answer me then. She made out like she was concentrating on her next move in the game and all. Then all of a sudden, this tear plopped down on the checkerboard, on one of the red squares. Boy, I can still see it. She just rubbed it into the board with her finger. I don't know why, but it bothered the hell out of me. So what I did was I went over and made her move over on the glider so that I could sit down next to her. I practically sat down in her lap, as a matter of fact. Then she really started to cry. And the next thing I knew, I was kissing her all over, anywhere, her eyes, her nose, her forehead, her eyebrows, her ears, her whole face, except her mouth and all. She sort of wouldn't let me get to her mouth. Anyway, it was the closest we ever got to necking. After a while, she got up and went in and put on this red and white sweater she had that knocked me out. And we went to a goddamn movie. I asked her on the way if Mr. Cudahy, that was the booze hound's name, had ever tried to get wise with her. She was pretty young, but she had this terrific figure, and I wouldn't have put it past that Cudahy bastard. She said no, though. I never did find out what the hell the matter was. Some girls, you practically never find out what's the matter. I don't want you to get the idea she was a goddamn icicle or something, just because we never necked or horsed around much. She wasn't. I held hands with her all the time, for instance. That doesn't sound like much, I realize, but she was terrific to hold hands with. Most girls, if you hold hands with them, their goddamn hand dies on you, or else they think they have to keep moving their hand all the time, as if they were afraid they'd bore you or something. Jane was different. We'd get into a goddamn movie or something, and right away we'd start holding hands, and we wouldn't quit till the movie was over, and without changing the position or making a big deal out of it. You never even worried with Jane, whether your hand was sweaty or not. All you knew was you were happy. You really were. One other thing I just thought of, one time in this movie, Jane did something that just about knocked me out. The newsreel was on or something, and all of a sudden I felt this hand on the back of my neck. It was Jane's. It was a funny thing to do. I mean, she was quite young and all. Most girls, if you see them putting their hand on the back of somebody's neck, they're around 25 or 30, and usually they're doing it to their husband or their little kid. I do it to my kid's sister Phoebe once in a while, for instance. But if a girl's quite young and all and she does it, it's so pretty it just about kills you. Anyway, that's what I was thinking about while I sat in the vomity-looking chair in the lobby. Old Jane. Every time I got to the part about her with Stradlater and goddamn Ed Behnke's car, it almost drove me crazy. I knew she wouldn't let him get to first base with her, but it drove me crazy anyway. I don't even like to talk about it, if you want to know the truth. There was hardly anybody in the lobby anymore. Even all the hoary-looking blondes weren't around anymore. All of a sudden, I felt like getting the hell out of the place. It was too depressing, and I wasn't tired or anything. So I went up to my room and put on my coat. I also took a look out the window to see if all the perverts were still in action, but the lights and all were out now. I went down to the elevator again and got a cab and told the driver to take me down to Ernie's. Ernie's is this nightclub in Greenwich Village that my brother DB used to go to quite frequently before he went out to Hollywood and prostituted himself. He used to take me with him once in a while. Ernie's a big fat colored guy that plays piano. He's a terrific snob, and he won't hardly even talk to you unless you're a big shot or a celebrity or something. But he can really play the piano. He's so good he's almost corny. In fact, I don't exactly know what I mean by that, but I mean it. I certainly like to hear him play, but sometimes you feel like turning his goddamn piano over. I think it's because sometimes when he plays, he sounds like the kind of guy that won't talk to you unless you're a big shot. Okay. That is the end of chapter 11. So I'm going to stop the share there. That's Jane Gallagher, and we hear about her. This whole chapter is about Jane. There's characterization. We have some direct characterization where Holden specifically tells us about Jane, the way that she looks, the things that she does. He describes her so we can picture her. And then there's that indirect characterization where we have Holden giving us instances and examples of Jane's character, and we can just sort of guess things or try to put some pieces together based on his analysis. So we don't hear from her, we hear from him. So I think that that's interesting to point out, that we're learning about a character secondhand. So this is Holden, and we know he's sort of this unreliable narrator that is, you know, in his own crisis. So this guy, Holden, is describing Jane to us. So we have to take that always into consideration, that everything that we hear is through, and we'll get into point of view, this first person narration. And we only know Holden's perspective. So that is limiting to us as readers. And we have to sort of, you know, there's some guesswork, but he does suggest some things about Jane, and we know that he really likes Jane. Holden doesn't like everything, and Holden doesn't like everyone. He makes that pretty clear. But when he does like someone or something, he's pretty passionate about describing that. So we know that he likes his brother Allie, his sister Phoebe, Jane Gallagher. There are these characters and also some other things that Holden really appreciates, and you get the sense of that he really likes this Jane Gallagher girl for a variety of reasons. He also worries about her, which is one of his more endearing qualities. I think in the last chapter we talked about virtues and vices, and you know, the dark and light side of this character, any character. And one of the finer qualities of Holden, I think, is that he does have this empathy and this concern for other people. And Jane Gallagher is one of the people that he has this concern for. So he worries about her. He worries about her with Stradlater. He worries about her with her stepfather. He, you know, gives us this anecdote about how she started crying when her stepfather was asking her for cigarettes, and she didn't explain what was going on, but it led to this, you know, sort of intimate moment with Holden and Jane. We don't even hear a conversation between the two of them. We just kind of get his viewpoint, his memory of what happened. So again, that's interesting to consider, that we're just seeing all of this through the eyes of this one character, this character being Holden. So I just want to like leave you with those thoughts. And he, you know, shares with us about Jane, and he also tells us he's going to continue going out. So though he's paused to have some serious thoughts and some, you know, deeper moments when considering this person that he likes, Jane Gallagher, we do know that it's sort of fleeting, that now Holden's like, okay, enough of that, shake that off. I'm going to go out. I'm going to go to this place called Ernie's, which we'll talk about more in the next chapter. So he kind of just gives us a glimpse about this place called Ernie's that he'll be going to in the next chapter. So I'll just sort of leave it at that, and we'll discuss Ernie's in the chapter 12, because that's where he'll be. All right, so with that, take care. Be on the lookout for that 7 through 12 review material, because we will have a quiz. Okay, bye.